Hey everyone, Reid Henrichs with Reid, and the purpose of today's video is to think about when trouble comes to your neighborhood. So I've got some thoughts and questions for you. First off, you're going to have to make a decision. When trouble does come to your neighborhood, and this could be in the form of a natural disaster, looting, rioting, whatever, you have a couple of choices. You're either going to leave or you're going to stay there. You're going to make one of those two decisions. So let's cover a little bit of each. If you decide to leave, number one, is your vehicle filled up with gas? Are you one of these people that waits until the E light comes on before you fill it up? Or are you a person that keeps it half, three-quarters, or even topped off? I've got a friend that every day, he will fill up his gas tank, even if he's just driven a little bit. He says it costs the same to keep it full as it does to fill it up when it's empty. And I guess there's a valid point there. But if it was me, I would generally keep my gas gauge above half, so that way I could get a pretty good distance if I needed to. Other things to consider: in your vehicle, do you have extra food? Do you have a supply of water? Do you have blankets or even medical supplies or medications that people in your party are going to need? These are just some things to consider if you do decide to leave. To that point, also consider this. Do you have a primary destination, or are you just one of these people that says, I'll just go up into the hills, I'll just go up into the mountains? Well, do you have an exact location planned out? Do you have a primary route on how to get there? If not, you need to plan one. You should also have an alternate route, a different location. If interstates, generally speaking, get choked up, during natural disasters like hurricanes, the freeways, the interstates are clogged. People don't move. So do you have an alternative route on how to get there? These are just some thoughts and some questions for you if you decide to leave. When trouble comes to your neighborhood, if you decide to stay, whether that's a natural disaster or looting or rioting, if you do decide to stay, these are some very vital things to consider. Number one, have a way to defend yourself. Have some protection, whether that's a pistol, preferably a rifle. You're going to need something that works, and that works reliably. You're going to need to have a way to defend yourself and the people that you are responsible for defending. This means having an effective gun to do that. In the case of defending a community, such as a neighborhood, I would much prefer to have a rifle, okay? It's much more firepower than a pistol. You can shoot at longer ranges. It holds more ammo. The ammunition is more effective terminally upon bad guys than a pistol is. So that would be my ideal choice. If I was defending my community during a time of civil unrest, I would most certainly 100 times out of 100 choose a rifle to do so. What type of rifle that you have is up to you. I'm not going to try to dictate what kind of rifle you should have, but I would probably recommend a semi-automatic magazine-fed rifle that shoots a common cartridge like 5.56 or 7.62 by 39 or even 5.45. Some people out there ask, what about 308? What about it? Get it. The second point, if you decide to stay, is that your gun needs to be ready. That means it needs to be cleaned, it needs to be lubricated, and it needs to be loaded. The last thing in the world that you're going to want to do when trouble comes to your neighborhood is try to, where's my ammo? Why is it locked away in a box? No, keep your gun loaded. It should already be loaded anyway for your home defense. So make sure it's loaded and ready and lubed and cleaned. Make sure you also have spare ammunition on hand for that. Now, whether that's in a bag or a satchel that you put on your body, or maybe even a plate carrier, that's fine too. Any of those will work. Just make sure your magazines already have rounds in them. They need to be charged full. That means they need to be already stored with ammo in them. The last thing in the world you're going to want to do is just try to stuff ammunition into your magazines when you're going to need them. That's why you have the magazines to begin with. That's why you should keep them loaded, is because for situations just like that. The third factor to consider if you stay: have a local network in place. That means have some friends or other family members that are also on board, that know what to do. More sets of eyes are very beneficial during these kind of situations. I don't know how long civil unrest or a natural disaster, any of this stuff's going to last. It can last a couple of weeks or even a month or more. So you're going to need to sleep sometime. Going it alone is fine for some people, but if you've got a wife or kids or other people that you're responsible for safeguarding, this gets rather tiresome. So you're going to need to have more than one person there. Who's going to cook? Who's going to be on duty? Who's going to be observing? I want you to think about the riots in 1992 in Los Angeles. You know, the one place that didn't burn was Koreatown because they had a local network of people that worked as a team. You know, when they were up on the rooftops, they had some people looking where's potential trouble coming from, and they were all armed, and a lot of them had radios where they could communicate. So that's something to consider if you haven't already done so. The fourth point to consider if you stay is your location secure? You know, a standard lock is not really the best thing in the world. Have you done something to ensure that it's harder to get into your place? You know, is your location secure? Or do you have multiple avenues where people could approach from? If that's the case, you know, you're going to have to assign duties to other people. So consider your location if you decide to stay. Is it smart to do so? And then what can you do if there are those potential problems? What can you do to remedy that? The fifth thing you'll really need to consider during a time of looting or rioting or anything like that is, when is deadly force appropriate? Now this is a topic that I could do a completely separate video about, but I'm just going to ask you about this. When is deadly force appropriate? Well, deadly force is justified only when all lesser means have failed or cannot reasonably be employed. So if it's the case where you don't have anything else that you can do, there's nowhere else to escape to, there's nowhere else to protect yourself, this is it, like all lesser means have failed, that's when you can apply deadly force, when you believe that either your life or the lives of the people you're responsible for are in imminent danger. They are in imminent, there's an imminent threat to their life or to their bodily security. That's when you can do that. And I want you to consider that very carefully. You know, people oftentimes think, oh, if there's a group of people approaching me, I just shoot them. You may, that may be appropriate, but we've also got to ask ourselves that question, do I have any other choice? And are the lives of my party in danger? We've got to ask those questions to ourselves every time. You do have a right to protect yourself and the people that you care about. And I do emphasize this, be ready for that. There may come a time where you will have to protect yourself or the people that you care about with your firearms. Isn't that why you bought them to begin with, to protect yourself and the people that you're responsible for? Isn't that why you bought a gun to begin with? So we've got to consider that. You do have that right, but be ready for it. You know, in the past couple of years in this country, these civil unrest or, you know, these things that have happened where, you know, it's trouble coming to people's neighborhoods, the trouble has stayed in the neighborhood. For the most part, the trouble has stayed in the neighborhood where the alleged violation of people's rights has taken place. For example, in Ferguson, that's where it happened. But I've got a feeling in the near future that trouble is going to start drifting out into other places that have nothing to do with a lot of the people that are disgruntled. So be prepared for that. Get with your neighbors. You know, get with your friends, have a plan, whether that includes leaving or staying put and defending that area. That's going to be up to you. I can't predict everybody's circumstances. But I do know this, that if you have a team, it's much more effective to help dissuade people coming in and hurting you than it is to do it by yourself. If you found the information in the video helpful, subscribe to the channel, like me on Facebook, that is down below. And if you want to learn how to get some training on your rifle or pistol, come on out to Valor Ridge and we'll teach you how to do just that. This is Reid Henrichs with Valor Ridge reminding you, the lessons that we learn are written on the tombstones of others. We'll see you on the ridge.